All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the world. Uh, my name is Sim. If you haven't met me yet, sorry, I never introduced myself. I just go into talking too much. I said I would do this. I said I would do this a couple years back, and I said the day the red alerts go up, that would signal that the true collapse of society has started. I would signal to you that this process is happening and explain the steps that we've taken you through step by step over the last 2 years in a cohesive way so you can understand what it is that we're seeing, because things had to develop to a point and get to a point where we could actually understand in further detail what is happening in front of us. Now they've developed a lot. So this is going to be my final warning. Take it however you want. I'm already executing all of these things myself, and we've already protected a lot of people's wealth in this way. And a couple years down the road, 2 to 3 years down the road, you'll realize everything that we're saying today. I don't want to say everything is going to be true, but you're going to realize a lot of these things that people aren't really awake to. So, in simple terms, when you look at history, the entire world shifts every century. Once a century, the entire world goes through a revolutionary process where the entire old way gets left behind and a completely new way gets built. And the people who are living in that old world way never expect this to happen, ever. There's a great video that I watched of a family, I think it was in Poland, hanging out and laughing. And Hitler is about to invade. And you see their state. And they literally they just can't even imagine that they're prosperous, they're happy, they're living the life. They're in the best time of history that's ever been. And when people went, hey, shit is coming, they just went, come on, look around. What do you mean? Let's go to a cafe. Smoothie bowls, right? I mean, they didn't have smoothie bowls back then, but their own version of smoothie bowls, basically. And it really highlighted how we are. Until the shit shows up to our door, often, most people, 99% of the people in the world will not do anything about it, right? And that's the state we're in today. We've gone through 2 years of shit, 2 lockdowns, okay? The entire world shut down. All the factories shut down and all the businesses shut down and everything, and everybody's still walking around like, I think it's gonna be just fine. This has never happened in history. Never in history did they go and they shut down the entire world all in one go and put everybody inside their houses. That's never happened. And if you don't understand the comet that was driven into the economics of the earth, that we are now finally going to have the tsunami of that reaching our shores, then I would like to enlighten you in that process. So today we're going to look at, okay, what's going on? What's the shift? Why is it happening? Who's doing it? And then what to do about it? Like, what do you do to protect against it? And we've done talks about this individually in pieces. This talk is going to be my final warning, okay? So every 100 years, the world shifts. It shifts because the old system, whichever system we create, has for a long time has been based on fiat currency. And fiat currency is the idea. Fiat, the word means by decree, which simply means because I said so, right? Because the government said so. When you do that and you give control of the money to the powers that be, what always happens ever since 3,000 something years ago in China, where the governments and the bankers, they just print that money into infinity, and then eventually it becomes worthless, and then everybody who's been working for it and saving it up doesn't have money anymore, right? Our money, so let's look at the last time that this happened. The last time this happened was the Deutsche Mark currency collapse, right? The Deutsche Mark was the strongest currency in the world, and they were the reserve currency, basically. And then they went through World War I, And because of World War I, they effectively printed that currency out of existence. And gold was worth a few Deutschmarks, and then it was worth tens, and then it was worth a few, and then it was worth hundreds, and then it was worth a few. And I mean, bread. Let's talk about bread. Bread was worth a single Deutschmark, and then it was worth a couple, and then it was worth 1.5, and then it was worth a few, then it was worth 2, then it was worth 10, then it was worth a few, then it was worth 100, then 1,000, then 10,000, then 100,000, then 1,000,000, then 1,000,000,000, then 200 billion. Within the course of, I think it was 4 years, 4 to 5 years. If you had to go from 1 to 200 billion, it was like 7, 8 years or something, right? Go look up the charts yourself, you'll see this. What happened is bread did not go up in price. Money went down in value. And eventually the Deutsche Mark just became completely worthless and people were stacking it up. And what's already happened in Lebanon, what's already happened in Venezuela, what's happening in Sri Lanka, what's happening in all these countries already, exactly, that's what happened. So right now, French citizens can't pull out cash. Chinese citizens, goodbye. Can't even pull out the money digitally from their spaces. Russians got Russianed a while back. We just completely forgot about that part. Just normal, good Russian humans had all their money stolen and are not allowed to access exchanges or banks or anything. I could just keep naming countries. There's lists and lists of countries that this is already played out. And we're sitting here thinking, no, I'm from a country that won't happen. No, love, it's coming to a country near you, a bank near you, okay? And this process of the collapse of currencies normally happened because the currency was backed by gold initially, and then they broke that backing of the gold, right? And so then, in 1929, the great market collapse happened, right? The Great Depression started. And then 1930, the US announced it is illegal to own gold. And they told their own citizens, you will go to prison if you own more than a little tiny amount of gold overnight. And gold was money. The government pulled out guns and went, give us all of your gold. Okay? And what people did is they gave them the gold. They took all that gold. Then during World War II, which was between then and 1945, they went and took all the gold from all the countries that were attacked and then took it back. And now that they were holding so much of the gold, a new system came along. That was the dollar-backed system that we've been living in up until now. And that system was where the dollar was backed by gold, right? They said, bring us all of the gold that you have, and we will tie the value of gold to the dollar at a rate of, I think it was $20 or something, or maybe it was 35. The point is they tied the value to gold. And then once they had the gold, once they issued all the dollars, they went and raised that price and went, now it's worth this much gold. So they just, again, created money still backing it by gold. It's called the Bretton Woods system. And the Bretton Woods system was created by bankers. And the system is every single currency in the world, its value would be tied to the US dollar. And the US dollar was tied to gold. So technically, the value of every single currency was tied to gold. That was still a stable system. It ran for a very long period of time. It created the prosperity that happened from 1947 until 1980. That's why the world went into this insane growth period and everything, so many people's lives improved because of this system running the way that it was. It was a good system. Then in 1971, the US president announced, because the French and a few other governments wanted to come and get their gold, and they said, here's the dollars, give us the gold, because dollars was transactable for gold. They said, we want our gold. So the US government pulled out better guns and then announced on TV that we are no longer going to transact dollars for gold. You can't have your gold, effectively, because we have the guns. At that point, the dollar was no longer tied to gold, and nobody could do anything about it because they have the guns and they have the gold. So then they said, look, the only thing the US dollar is backed by now, it's backed by the trust that you have in the US, okay? We control the money supply. We control how many dollars exist through the central bank, the Fed, and deal with it. And all of your currencies are tied to our money. And we get to print it. You guys have to earn it. And then they de facto tied it to oil, like not really saying that it's tied to oil, but it became the petrodollar at that point. But what they did at the same time is they printed their own dollars ever since then. So when you look at the dollar from when it was issued back then, from like 1930s until now, it's already lost 98 point something% of its actual purchasing power when you actually look at how much it can buy, right? Gold hasn't. Gold actually, it costs the same amount of gold today to buy a good house that it did back in the medieval times. So gold has maintained its purchasing power throughout history on a very, very long scale. So when they disconnected the dollar from the gold, it was no longer backed by gold, that was the beginning of the end of the dollar. Because now they started doing exactly what had been done with every single empire that came before. You know, the Dutch did this, Germans did this, Chinese did this, almost back to the Romans. The Romans kind of did this with the devalued currencies. But the whole point is currency devaluation is the way empires die. So effectively what the US has been doing is US has been printing money, printing dollars, and generating debt in the form of bonds and selling it to countries and promising them an interest for holding that sovereign debt. As long as the trust in the US's honesty was maintained, the system still ran. But more and more debt got generated eventually. You know, if you think about it like this, like I print, let's say there's no money in the world, right? And I print $1 and I give it to you. And I say, I'll lend this dollar to you, but you have to give me $1.05. But wait, but Sim, you made the dollar. Yeah, I made the dollar. And you want me to give you back $1.05? Who's making the 5 cents? Right? That's our system today. So what they do is they create more money and they hand it to you again, and you pay them back $1.05 out of $3, but now I owe them $3.30 or $3.15. Well, then I go back, then they print more money and they hand it to you, and then you pay them back in interest, and rinse and repeat. Okay? So this has been the world. It's been expanded up to a point where we have insane amounts of debt. The US's debt to GDP is over 130%. Japan is well above that. All the European countries are getting there. Indonesia has 40%. Indonesia's debt compared to its GDP is only 40% of how much it makes in a year. That's a really healthy place to be. But that's also because Indonesia had the Southeast Asian crisis back in the day. But the point is, all of this leads to one single conclusion. Always. In history, every single fiat currency that's ever existed has only had one end, and that was hyperinflation and becoming worthless. Now, here's the thing. Every single time it's happened in history, there were some people who became insanely wealthy, and there were some people who became insanely poor. What was the difference between the two? Let's imagine gold is worth, a few single-digit Deutsche Marks, or bread is worth 1 Deutsche Mark, right? The world is running. The smart people who saw this coming, what they did is they took their fiat currencies and they put it into assets, right? They didn't hold cash. They went and bought land and farms and factories, assets, gold. They bought assets, right? And then what happened is 7 years later, bread is worth 200 billion, but gold is worth trillions, right? And the houses are worth quadrillions, right? And then when the entire system collapsed, the house was revalued in the new Deutsche Mark, the gold Deutsche Mark. So now their money didn't get destroyed, right? Somebody who was a billionaire in Deutsche Marks when bread was one Deutsche Mark, who just held the cash, eventually Bread was worth 200 billion. You couldn't even buy bread with your billion. So the guy who converted it into assets first and stepped back from cash, invested into the right assets that were part of the new system, they got into the new system and they wiped the floor with people. They still had all their wealth, and then they were able to sell their assets, get the new money that came out, and they were part of the next 100 years of growth. And the people who thought saving money was the way to get rich became the poorest people ever, and so on and so forth. The really, really, really smart people went one step further. I'm not saying you should do this, but this is really smart. The really smart people went to the banks and got them to give them loans and said, give me a loan. Like this place, at that point, let's say, is worth 1 million Deutschmarks, right? So they went and said, give me 1 million Deutschmarks. Like, here, I have land. I've bought all this stuff. I have it backing. I'll leverage that and give me a loan for 1 million Deutschmarks. 10 million Deutschmarks. Bought 10 of these buildings on debt. What they owe back is 10 million plus interest, right? 5% interest, let's say, 7% interest if you're an idiot. And then 7 years later, they kept paying the interest. 7 years later, those places are worth hundreds of billions, trillions of Deutschmarks. So they can literally just sell, like, because you only owe 10 million Deutschmarks, right? You could just literally sell like a room's worth of real estate, take 10 million Deutschmarks, pay back the debt, because the debt is just a number, and you still get to keep all your real estate, plus you leveled up your real estate portfolio to the next level. Right? So these are some techniques that have been used in history. And the same thing happened during Chinese time, same thing happened as far back in history as you can look. These are the techniques that are the most efficient, because money is valueless. Money is worthless. What we call money is worthless. Even gold is worthless. Like, what are you going to do with gold? Eat it? Hit somebody in the head with it? It's completely useless as a thing. It's very useless. Houses are useful. Farms are useful. Food is useful. Tables are useful. Chairs are useful. Right? That's actual value that gets added to people's worlds. Assets are useful. So that's why when you take worthless shit and convert it into useful shit, and then you ride out all the shit, on the other side, what you have is still very useful shit. And what becomes the most useful are things like food. Right? Because when all food and shelter, when the shit really hits the fan, those are the only two things everybody looks for, and water sources. If you have food, water, and shelter, there's not much else that you need to live life, to your kids to be protected. So that's how the transition normally goes, okay? The transition that's happening today is the transition from a democratic world, democracy, to a technocratic world, technocracy. Google it, research it, I'm not going to go too deep into that. But basically, back in the 1930s, this idea was created, which is technocracy simply says that the world should be run by mathematics and engineering, and that all the resources of the world can be split according to calculations by technology and by engineers, okay? The changing world order always changes from the previous superpower to the new superpower. The previous superpower clearly was the US. They're no longer the superpower. The next superpower is not going to be China. If you haven't seen China, China's having a way worse day than the US. They've already collapsed. The next superpower is going to be the one world government. They are already the superpower. Go back and watch our historical talk on changing world orders. I explain all the details exactly step by step why the one world government is the greatest thing ever. Their plan is to create a social credit score system where we will all be scored according to how well we comply with their initiatives. They're going to convert money into carbon credits. So instead of spending money, what you will do is you will have the ability to purchase the expenditure of carbon into the air. So every steak that you eat, the amount of carbon that it produces will be calculated, and how much money you have will determine how much carbon you can expend, and that's how you will be allowed to operate. If you don't have enough money to expend enough carbon for a steak, you can't eat a steak. And they're going to automate this whole system. It's already here. People just don't realize it. In that transitionary process, these technologies are here to automate the whole world. So no longer will they need armies. They just need armies of coders to make this process happen. So now let's talk about literally what is happening today, which is so concerning that I decided to hold this meeting. Russia has shut off the gas pipeline to Europe. Russia has shut off the energy pipeline to Europe. Germany, over 50% of their energy comes from it. A lot of other pieces of Europe, over 40% of the energy comes from it. Energy prices in Europe are shooting through the roof. They've gone parabolic. When that happens, the next thing that's coming is winter. And winter is already here. And coincidentally, this is going to be one of the coldest winters that's ever happened in Europe. What that means is people are going to freeze to death. Okay? People are going to freeze to death in Europe, in the place where everybody's super happy. Cyril, please chime in. The mic, please, Mike. No. We need the French perspective, the French connection.
Exactly. So talking about France specifically, you know that we're running a lot of nuclear power plants. Basically, 70% of the energy produced in France is coming, historically speaking, or like in the last few decades, is coming from nuclear. Now, this winter, very interestingly, half of them are going to be shut down. But they are already shut down, which is not a problem in summer, but they are going to be shut down until they announce at the moment February, because they found some rust here and there. So out of the 50-ish nuclear power plants that are running in France, half of them are going to be powered down.
Of course, for winter. That's exactly when you want to clean the rust.
Exactly the moment where you want
That's
to do
exactly
that.
when we need to get rid of the rust.
Coincidentally, the moment where Russia says, oh, you know what, we're going to shut down the pipeline.
Coincidentally. Of course, none of these things are controlled. It would be stupid to say that somebody is doing this on purpose, because we know the way the world works is governments care about you, and there's nobody above governments, and we vote them in, right? And they care about the people, so they always do stuff that's best for the people. That's why they're shutting off the 50% of the nuclear plants, shutting off the power. But wait, there's more. Buy one, get two free. You also get a food crisis. It's fantastic. Think about this. Fertilizer, which was produced in Ukraine, coincidentally, and Russia, has not reached fields for the last 9 months. When fertilizer doesn't reach fields, you have a year cycle before the effect of that harvest not coming through hits your shelves. It's already hitting shelves. We're already starting to experience it in the rest of the world. That food crisis is happening because fertilizer didn't reach the fields, climate change, weather's changing. We got to stop that. Weather's changing. And supply chains are messed up because, when you shut down the entire world, it does a bit of a number on supply chains, which are supposed to be timed down to the minutes of how stuff gets delivered to countries. Supply chains, the costs of shipping went up 10 times in some places, which if you're a businessman, you probably experienced this. Inflation has taken things through the roof. At the same time, oddly enough, food processing facilities are just burning down across the world. Oddly, coincidentally, of course, completely coincidental. We've never had even like 1 or 2 food facilities burned down in a year, and we've had dozens and dozens that I know of. There's hundreds that have burnt down across the world. And of course, they were also shut down because, COVID and a cough. So, what do you do? What do you do? Energy crisis? Become energy self-sufficient. It's not that complicated. Like, okay, the power is going to be out, right? And Germany, they're releasing a law that they're going to put you in prison if you turn your thermostat up above 66 degrees Fahrenheit. Because yeah. So what do you do? Okay, well, our friend has a wood-fired furnace that it heats the house. You can cook on top of it. Plus, it has a chip inside that generates electricity from the heat difference, from the temperature difference. Okay, so you can generate electricity enough to power a large part of the house. You can heat the house and you can have cooking. Get some wood. Get some wood. Where are you? Luckily, we're in Bali. When the power goes out, it just gets a little bit darker. We just open the windows and then it gets bright again, right? Move. Move. Leave. I was in Canada. And I just thought, like, man, if I get stuck here and the power goes out, I will die. I will just die. Minus 30 degrees. I remember this one time the heat broke in the building that I was in, and the walls froze from inside. All the walls froze from inside. And down to like the splitting walls inside froze. Okay? And I had to turn on my oven and my heating elements and put a fan on it just to not die. And you know what was great? Luckily, I'd booked a Mexico trip right at that time. So I spent 2 days with the 3 days with the thing off, and then I flew to Mexico. And then by the time I came back, they'd fixed the heat. Thank you. But I was in Mexico and I was like, why am I going back? Why am I going back to Canada? Love the country, love the people, fantastic. Don't love dying, okay? So if you haven't thought about this yet, within the next 3 years, the thought is going to come up. Because when you take energy from people, and then you take food from people, it's not very long until people pick up their weapons. They pick up their weapons, and they go out into the streets, and they riot. And then, in China, right now, they can't even get their money out of banks. The banks have collapsed. So now you can't get money, you can't get food, you can't get energy. So the next thing is people are gonna riot. And when people are rioting, that's when you really think about moving. You know, nobody doesn't want to move from Lebanon anymore. Nobody doesn't want to move from Syria. Nobody doesn't want to move from anywhere. They'd die to move. Just think about it. I'm just telling you solutions that you may not like in the first place. At the same time, these countries we're talking about, Europe, US, all these developed nations that we call, they're at the end of their growth curve. Their populations are old. They've already gained all the prosperity they can. There isn't more growth to be had. They're at the end of their growth curve, which means at the end of a growth curve, the society dies. There are other societies, Indonesia, Asia, Africa, these societies are at the beginning of their growth curve. Their populations are young. The growth hasn't happened there yet. So the only place that we know, like every financial analyst knows, pretty much the only solid place where growth is going to happen is Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia is where the growth is going to happen for the next 40 years. Africa, yes, but Southeast Asia is going to dominate the growth space. Because, you know what we have? Food. It grows on every single tree by mistake. You can drop a mango on the ground and come back 3 months later and there'll be a mango tree there. Okay, the lands are fertile. Indonesia has commodities, has coal, has oil, has iron, copper, nickel, every single thing that you need. Not every single thing, but almost everything that you need to run the world, these countries have, right? You know what those countries have? Financial products. They have ETFs and ETNs and futures and all the crap that nobody really needs. So that's fake wealth. This is real wealth. Now it's time for the transition to happen. And that wealth is coming here. And if you haven't noticed, the wealthiest and most powerful people in the world are sitting right there. It's called G20. Okay, that's not a coincidence. That's why they're here, because this is where the growth is going to be going forward. Okay, but remember I said buy one, get two free? So not only do you get an energy crisis, not only do you get a food crisis, you get a supply chain crisis, because supply chains have melted down across the world. When a supply chain crisis happens, that means shipping things becomes exorbitantly expensive. So okay, so let's just go back to the food crisis. Wait, solutions, we gotta get solutions. Solutions to the food crisis is become food secure. Grow your own food. It's not very complicated. You literally put seeds in dirt and then it grows you food. You can do that. Like a friend of ours has created a pillar. It's called Pliant. And you just put seeds inside that, and a pillar that takes up literally the amount of space that I take to stand creates enough food to feed a family. 2, 3, 4 pillars, and you can feed a huge, huge family of people with nutritious food that grows on minimal water, minimal everything. It grows indoors, has LEDs built in. Grow food. If you're somewhere where you can grow food outside, grow food outside. If you're in Canada, move. That's just always the answer. If you're in Canada, just move, okay? If you're in Germany, you've probably already moved, but move. Go somewhere else. You know, we're all sitting here in paradise for a reason, because we understood this game ahead of time. Okay, food. So energy crisis, generate your own energy. Get a turbine set up, get a wind turbine set up, water turbine set up, use wood to generate energy, to heat your house. Let's go back to the classics, okay? Food, get food security, grow your own food, or access systems around you. Every single place in the world, there are people who have thought about this, and they have networks where they're already growing food and sharing food, and there's an overabundance of supply. Access them, because that then takes you to the solution to the supply chain crisis, right? The supply chain crisis means stuff isn't being shipped in. You know, we're so used to going to the grocery store and it being full of food, especially in the West. When that doesn't happen, you know who has food? The neighbors that are growing food. So the way you get rid of the supply chain crisis is you just go local with everything. If you're building a house, build it with local supplies. If you're eating food, eat local food. If you're buying stuff for whatever business you need, buy local shit. You know, if it's shipped in from the country, the same supply chain crisis doesn't apply to you. It does apply in some capacity, but it doesn't apply in a big way. Who here knows what TSMC is? TSMC.
Semiconductor facility in Taiwan, that goes ahead of everybody else in the world.
TSMC is the biggest problem the world has that nobody even knows exists. TSMC is Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company or something. It exists in Taiwan. It creates all of the highest quality chips that we use in all of our technology. It's the singular source for these chips. It's the only place in the world that can create those chips. It's in Taiwan. The US is going to go to war with China. Like it's already guaranteed. Anybody who doesn't think that doesn't understand history. US is going to go to war with China. When they go to war, they're going to go to war over Taiwan. When that happens, all the high quality chips that we need for stuff stop. That means all technology supply chains stop. When that happens, the entire world melts down. And that's not hyperbole. That's just how the world works. There's nothing to do to protect against that. Oh, I mean, there is. Buy your technology now. Invest in assets. Remember we said invest in assets. So a wood stove is an asset because it will heat you forever and it'll give you energy forever if you get the right one. A farm, a little pillar is an asset. It'll feed you forever. Technology is an asset. We just bought all of our laptops, all of our phones, all of our technology, everything that we need, we just bought it brand new. So the stuff will survive 5 to 10 years through this entire crisis process. Get that shit now. I mean, you should have got that shit a couple years back when it was still cheap, but it's still cheap enough that you can still buy it. Get your semiconductor supplies in order because it's gonna shut down within the next 2 years. At some point, it's gonna shut down, and when it shuts down, the prices for these things will skyrocket. Right? We've already seen it play out, but it's about to play out in a massive, massive way. The other thing that's happening is currencies are fracturing. Currencies are fracturing. So remember we said the only thing that made the system run was the faith in that the US will honor their word. When you take debt from the US, that means the US promises to pay you back at some point. And everybody trusted that. That's why China invested in the US, Russia invested in the US, they bought sovereign bonds and held them. They held US dollars because in order to do global trade, you needed to buy US dollars for commerce. When they did that to Russia, it was the first time that US defaulted on its debts, basically. they said, we're not going to pay the Russians back. As a matter of fact, we're going to take all the dollars the Russians have and all of the yachts and all of the real estate and all of their holdings, their businesses, their football clubs, every single thing that the Russians have, we're going to take at gunpoint, and we're not going to give them their dollars back, and we're not going to pay them back for the debt that we owe them. People smoothie bowl. People were just like, no, I must suck for the Russians. And then you see your Russian friends suffering. And you know what people did? Did not even skip a bite. Did not even skip a bite. But you know what that was? That was the US telling you, I'm not paying any of you back. I'm not paying any of you back. I don't owe you shit. And you know what the countries did? They went, oh, fuck. They're not going to pay any of us back. So then they started dumping US debt onto public markets. Dumping US debt is bond yields going up. And bond yields going up means equities go down, right? We've talked about this. Bonds are the ocean, equities are the sea, and crypto is a teardrop of the ocean in a puddle on the ground. And Bitcoin is like a mouse's teardrop inside of the teardrop, okay? And all the coins we hold are like, they're just non-existing molecules or atoms of water. That's like realistically how you can look at it. You know why crypto crashed? The trust in debt fell apart. When the trust in debt falls apart, the trust in stocks falls apart. When the trust in stocks falls apart, crypto, goodbye. Okay? This all comes around. This is the state of the world that exists today. And at the same time, they stopped printing dollars and they pulled back on the dollars. And now the supply of dollars, the demand for dollars went up because all the currencies are collapsing, right? Because you need dollars to do global commerce. They're not printing dollars. The demand for dollars is going up. So the supply of dollars is going down. That's why the dollar went off on a run. That's why the dollar became worth a lot more. When the dollar becomes worth a lot more, everything else against the dollar becomes worth less, right? What countries have started to do is countries have started to figure out their own trading systems. So the ruble does not trade with the dollar anymore. The ruble trades with the yuan, but even the yuan, they were like, calm down, we don't want to trade with the yuan, we'll trade through gold. The yuan pretty soon is not going to talk to the dollar. And when the yuan stops talking to the dollar, goodbye everything that we buy. Because China will no longer be shipping this stuff to those countries. China and Indonesia created a yuan reserve. So they said, we're going to trade in yuans rather than the dollar. The Middle East said they're going to make their own currency. South America said they're going to make their own currency. A bunch of countries came together and said, we're going to make our own currencies. The world fractured. BRICS used to be Brazil, Russia, India, South Africa, and China, right? China and South Africa. Now a bunch of countries have joined BRICS, a bunch of other countries, and they went, look, we're with you guys because we see what the US is doing and they're going to fuck all of us. In that process, guess what happened to the euro? Guess what happened to all the currencies? Explosions. They're dying. You lost 30% of your money in the euro if you had the euro for the last 9 months. Holding it, cash. You have $1 million, you got $1 million. No, you don't. You only have 700,000 euros of purchasing power. And you know who has more purchasing power? The people who held the dollar. And this is also, a misunderstanding. People think the dollar's gonna die. The dollar's gonna die. It's like, no. First, all the currencies are gonna die. Then all the countries are gonna die. Then all the assets are gonna die. And the dollar murders everything around it. And then when at the point where everybody's rushed into the dollar because they're like, hey, well, the only thing going up is the dollar, that's when the dollar crushes you, okay? So how do you protect against that? Currency fracturing. First of all, you should be holding dollars. Should have been holding dollars. Think about it, I've been holding dollars. 2 months ago, I was getting 14,500 rupiah. So you just, whenever you need rupiah, you convert to the rupiah and you buy it. purchasing power happens right away. Now I'm getting 15,250 rupiah. So you're getting more rupiah. You're making more rupiah just by holding the dollar. You're buying more Bitcoin holding the dollar. You're buying more crypto holding the dollar. You're buying more real estate holding the dollar. You're buying more of everything holding the dollar. So there are times when you should hold the dollar, right? So the way currencies collapse is not like this. They don't just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 10, 10, 100,000, million, billion, trillion. That's not how it goes. Realistically, it goes like this. Right? Gold went up in Deutsche Marks, then crashed. Then up in Deutsche Marks, crashed. Up in Deutsche Marks, crashed. Thousands of Deutsche Marks crashed. Tens of thousands of Deutsche Marks crash. Millions crash. Billions crash. Hundreds of billions crash. Trillions crash. Does that remind you of something? Can you think of anything else that does that? You know, pennies, dollars, pennies. Pennies, double-digit dollars, dollars. Crypto. Crypto does that. And crypto does that exactly because this is how societies collapse. And crypto is the future of value movement. And the thing is, people are so terrified of this happening, all they want to do is pull it out into dollars and hold on to dollars. Now, there is a point to be made that once it pumps, then you go to the dollar. Because what happens is, assets pump, that means dollar goes down. Now the dollar is cheap and the assets are expensive. So you go from asset to dollar, if you can time it correctly. If you're a normal person, please don't try to time it. Just write it out throughout the way, okay? But here's the finer details. Assets up, dollar down, convert into the dollar. Dollar up, assets down, convert into the assets. Assets up, dollar down. And that's how you multiply wealth, by trading it, but on longer scales. This happens on like yearly scales. This isn't like watching the 40-second chart on crypto and trying to like trade it. That's idiotic. You're trading against high frequency trading algorithms from the people who have strategies to steal all your money. But the point is, that's what's happening with the new value model, which is, if you just held it and hung out, you'd be okay. You'd go through a lot of roller coasteriness, but you'd be okay. If you're in other currencies, you should be holding the dollar. Although now the dollar's up. So now if you go buy the dollar's probably going to crash. So now is probably not the best time to go to the dollar. I don't know. Who knows? I'm not Nostradamus. Now the euro's low. Maybe the euro goes up. Now maybe it's time to be in the euro. But you get the idea. Figure it out for yourself. The way you protect against currency collapses is, first of all, you don't hold the wrong currency. The Russians who are holding the ruble, they're not having a great day right now. Right? The Chinese that were holding the yuan, they can't get it out of banks. The Lebanese who are holding the Lebanese currency, goodbye. The Venezuelans who are holding Venezuelan currency are making bags out of it. The bags sell more than what the currency is worth. Like those guys, they can literally just load up the money into the fire, and it's worth more burning it for heat than it is for spending it. Nobody wants it anymore, right? That's how you protect against the currency collapse. The other thing you do is you move your money to jurisdictions that are much more protected. And this is something interesting that my research has brought forth. The Indonesian banking system is over 100% collateralized, which means the banks that are lending money have more collateral than the loans they have out, right? That's because Indonesia had the collapse back in the day. They secured their system. So technically, the banks here can't have the same kind of collapse that the other countries are going to have. Because the other countries, they lend out $99 for every dollar that they have. So when everybody comes and asks for the dollars, they're going to be like, sorry, okay? But Indonesia looks pretty good. Looks like they've secured their shit. Indonesia has energy that they produce of their own. It's produced locally on islands themselves. The infrastructure is buried under the ground, and there's an overabundance of energy now that, especially like in Bali, where there were all these tourists that were coming, and now the tourists aren't coming, so then there's an overabundance of energy. There's an overabundance of food. That's just what we call Bali. You know, there's just too much food rotting on the trees. That's not even considering that there was an overabundance of, the supply chain was set up to serve all the tourists coming here, and now they're not coming here and eating, so there's an overabundance of food. The supply chains are local here already. Many of the supply chains are local because island cultures, the shipping is already too expensive, so a lot of the stuff gets produced locally, and especially in Indonesia, there's a lot of resources. The banking system is more secure because it's fully collateralized. I mean, they'll still collapse. Banks will still collapse at some point, but they won't. It's unlikely that they'll go through the full bank bail-in process that we're going to look at, but they could. The internet is an intranet. It's not an internet. An intranet is an internet that runs within the country itself, and it has singular points attached to the outside world. So even when the global internet shuts down, the internet within Indonesia should keep running. It's all buried under the ground, protected against solar flares and a bunch of other stuff. But in most of the world, first of all those things don't exist. Most of the world, most of the Western world ships in their food, has massive supply chains, has no food security, no energy security. They're fragile systems that when they shut off, they shut off. Because, so protecting from the currency collapse, you hold dollars. And ideally for me, I hold dollars in Indonesia, hold dollars in Singapore, hold dollars in Switzerland, hold dollars in a few jurisdictions which are very secure. And that they're the most likely not to collapse. At the same time, what you do, like we've talked about in the wealth protection talks before, you set up on-ramps into crypto from each one of these jurisdictions. Because when money moves, if you want to move your money from Switzerland to an exchange here, it has to go through the SWIFT system. And the SWIFT system is exactly what they shut down for the Russians. And they could shut it off for any of us tomorrow and you'd be fucked. You won't be able to move your money. So what you do is you set up exchanges that are local to that jurisdiction so the money doesn't need to move through the global system and moves through a local system because every place has a local system. And then ideally you should have companies that are registered on these exchanges, and those are attached to the bank account. That's a local bank account, and your money can move from your bank account locally into that local exchange, turn it into stable coins, and then stable coins can move everywhere. Right? So that's how you would have on-ramps set up for you to be able to move your money to different jurisdictions, even without the banking system being live. And we've talked about this. I'm not going to repeat this. Go back and watch the wealth protection talk. We have like 6 talks of giving you step-by-step guides on how to do this stuff. Okay, if you have that all in place, then you should be okay. Now, I told you I would ring the bells when it's time to go 100% stable, and I'm ringing the bell today. Get your fucking money out of the banks. I don't know how long we have. Between now and November of 2025, all of the money in your banks is going to disappear. And it is a process called the bank bail-in process. I've done a whole talk about it. Go back and watch that talk. I give you the regulations. I give you everything, all the details on exactly how it's legal. But I'll explain it again because, there's new people and I just love talking about this shit in the first place. 2008, the global financial system freezes. Money is not moving. Money is not moving. Money moving, liquidity moving is the world moving. Money not moving equals world stops, equals wars within a little bit, equals mass death. That's how tight it is. 2008, money stops moving. Banks stop lending to each other, and debt stops moving because of dumb moves that were made in the background. But the point is, money stops moving. The government comes in and prints a bunch of money and floods it into the system and gives it to the banks just to keep that system from collapsing. We get angry. We're like, how dare you print a bunch of money and give it to the banks? When we run out of money, we go bankrupt. When my business runs out of money, we go bankrupt. The banks run out of money and you print a bunch of our tax dollars and you give it to them, that's bullshit. Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street. So we all just go Occupy Wall Street. We want justice. So they went, sounds good. We're so sorry. We will never do bailouts again. That process was called a bailout, where the government bails you out, bails out banks. And they said, we will never do bailouts again. Is that okay? And we went, yeah, damn right. You better not bail anybody out again ever. And they went, okay, go home now. And we went, great. Ma, smoothie bowls. We went home, started eating our smoothie bowls. And then they wrote a law, okay? They wrote a law that said, we will never bail out banks again. But we will create a bank bail-in process that the next time this happens, because the shareholders who are, are the investors in the bank, we got to take care of them. They're the bankers. They run the entire world. We got to take care of them. The law is that we will do something called a bank bail-in. And a bank bail-in says that when the bank collapses, the unsecured lenders who've given unsecured loans to banks, their money will be taken to make the investors whole. Okay? The investors have stock of the bank. That's how they invest. Who are the unsecured lenders? Well, if you would read clearly the 70 pages of documents that you sign when you sign up for a bank account, what it says inside of there is, you are the unsecured lender. You know why you have to sign so many times? You ever notice? You go sign up for a bank and they're like, sign here, initial here, initial here, initial here, sign here, sign your life away, sign your rights away, sign your Nobody reads it. What it says in there is you are the unsecured lender. What you've done is you've given a cash loan to the bank. Every time you put money in the bank, you give a cash loan to the bank, unsecured by any assets. That's what an unsecured loan is. It is law in all the G20 countries at least that says when the bank collapses, and the bank is going to collapse because they've made stupid bets. And remember, they've lent out all this money that they don't even have. They've lent out way more money than they have. When the bank collapses, which is, when the money in the world stops moving, everybody asks for their loans back, the bank doesn't have enough money, and then people ask for the money out of the bank doesn't have enough money, they're going to take a bank holiday. And a bank holiday will be followed by them doing bank bail-ins. And the bank bail-in process will be where they take all of your money, but the thing is, legally, they can't just take all my money. Yeah, you're right about that. They can't just take all your money. They have to give you something in return. So what they do is they take your money and they swap it for stock in the bank. Because, the money went to the investor sells the stock goes back to you. You're forcefully given stock to a bankrupt bank. So you get your money back, you just get worthless stock to a bankrupt bank. And so people are like, no, Sim, I have FDIC insurance. In Europe, I have the whatever, something insurance, 100,000 euros secured, $250,000 secured. I'm good. I'm keeping my money below that. I always stayed poor so I could be below that limit. Great, fantastic strategy. So actually, what the law also says is the negotiators of that process are exactly these institutions that we're talking about. So when you go to the FDIC and you go, hey, they just took all my money, you owe me the money, you're the insurance, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. If you look at the FDIC's balance sheets, they have $80 billion to cover, I think like $20 trillion of loan or deposits. That can't happen. They are going to negotiate this process. And you know what they're probably going to do? Because they do have to pay it out. You're right. Legally speaking, they're the insurance corporation. And you know who's going to print the money and give it to them? The government. And that's going to be an excuse for them to print $20 trillion. And we're going to get happy, be like, yeah, I got my money back. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. There's only $30 trillion that exists right now, and they're going to print another 20 and hand it to you? What's that going to do to prices of things? When you hand people this much money, guess what happens to prices? What's happening today? Through the roof. So they're going to steal your money no matter what. People are people. They're idiots. Complete fucking morons who don't understand how the world works. This is how the world works. And I'm telling you this. If this is all news to you, it's going to happen to you. Okay. Case study. Cyprus, 2013. They did this. Took everybody's money, gave them worthless stock. Greece, 20-something. Did this. The government came in, took the money, already done. Russia, they just took all the money. No stocks, no nothing. Just took all the money. Didn't even give them worthless stock back. Okay? And this is going to happen. How do you protect yourself? Get your fucking money out of the banks. Try it. Try it right now. Try it right now. Try getting all your money out of France. Try getting $1 million out of the bank in France. Try it in the US. Try it in Europe. Try it everywhere. Trust me, I lived this life. I've been doing this for years, helping people get their money out of the banks. And you get this realization when you ask for the money from the bank, they don't give you the money. They don't give you the money. They tell you how much you can take out. Like literally, one guy walks into a bank and wants to take out $5,000 in the US, $5,000 cash. And the bank's like, why are you taking the money out? And he's like, I don't trust banks. That's why I'm taking the money out. And they go, okay. Come back tomorrow, we'll give you $5,000. Next day he comes, I want $5,000. Come back tomorrow. He's like, okay. So he calls the bank and he goes, tomorrow I'm going to come get $5,000 because you will only let me take out $5,000 out of my hundreds of thousands of dollars that I have with you. One day he goes to a bank, the same bank, and they go, we're going to give you $4,000. And he's like, why? They're like, something's fishy. Something's off. And he's like, yeah, I know something's off. That's why I'm taking my money out in the first place. And they're like, okay. And he goes to the second branch and he goes, I want $4,000. They said, you already took out the $4,000. He said, yeah, that's per branch. They went, no, we're not going to give you the money. We don't have the money. And they're like, and he's like, you don't have $4,000 as a bank? And they're like, we're not going to give you the money. So he tries to fight. He finds out that the bank just decided that they're not going to give him the money. He can't pull it out in cash. He can't move it through Swift. He can't do anything. They did this to me. I'm here, and my money's in Canada, and one day they canceled all my cards, canceled my credit cards, canceled all my cards, and then said, come back to Canada to prove your identity. This doesn't look right. And I was like, this doesn't look right. The money's moving from my account to my account. How right can it look? And they're like, sorry, figure it out. Your limit has been knocked down to $3,000. So you can only move $3,000 at a time. Try it. If you think you have money in the bank, go and get it for me. Put it in your own pocket and let me know how long it takes. Some people it's taking 8 months. Some people it's taking years to move the money. Okay, you don't have money in the bank. They've already stolen it. You just don't realize it. But pretty soon, one day, they're going to have a bank holiday and they're going to take the money. So right now, get your fucking money into stable coins. USDC, USDC. No, USDC is the stable coin. Or like, Kraken lets you hold dollars. Kraken lets you hold dollars. So you can just put in dollars and hold dollars. They're actual dollars. Kraken audits themselves constantly. They actually send you the audit report on a monthly or bi-monthly basis or something. They send you an audit report to prove that your crypto is in your wallet and your money is with them. They handle hundreds of billions of dollars of throughput per month. Okay, so you can just move the money to Kraken and just keep it as dollars. You could buy USDC and put it in your own pocket if you don't trust exchanges. You could put it through Coinbase. And Coinbase will then not let you get it out again. But at least it'll be in Coinbase. Okay? Coinbase is a shit show. But BlackRock is Coinbase. So yes, they're not going to die. And side note, whenever you hear these things, oh, Solana and USDC are dying, go to USDT, take that with a grain of salt. All my research has shown that USDC is the de facto CBDC that's coming. Fine, you're a traditional person. You're like, Sim, stablecoin, schmablecoin, Kraken, schmacken, is that a monster? Fine, move it into a brokerage account. Move it into a Schwab account. Brokerages are not beholden to the same bank bail-in laws. They have no bank bail-ins because they're brokers. Safe brokers will hold your money for you, but just get it the fuck out of the banking system. I've already been screaming from the rooftops for the last year and a half. This is the final time I'm gonna say it. Okay, the end game is here. Turn into stable coins and hold it. Turn into digital assets and hold it. If you just want to, just hold it. This plan of freezing the entire world's financial system is called ICE 9. We've known about it for a very long period of time, ICE 9. ICE 9 is a reference to a book where a scientist invents a chemical where you drop a drop of it into the ocean and it freezes the whole ocean, right? And that's the idea, that they're going to freeze the entire world's banking system. It's going to be a liquidity crisis, and then they're going to say, look, the banks aren't running. We're going to bail in the money. We're going to print a shit ton of money and flood it into the system. That's going to devalue all the currencies anyway, and you have nowhere to go at that point. Google it yourself, learn about it, disprove me. Find me some data that disproves this whole process. On the other side of this whole process, because you're like, wait, Sam, wait a minute. They're going to take all our money. And then what? Well, we're going to pick up sticks and guns and we're going to go fight, right? Like that's what we would do if somebody took all our money. Yeah, so they have a new system. They have a solution, okay? They're not only causing the problem, they're not only causing the reaction, they got a solution for you. The solution is central bank digital currencies. We'll give you a wallet. We'll put money into your wallet for free, enough for you to eat, Only enough for you to eat, not steaks, not steaks. Grass. Food grown by Bill Gates, specifically. And, you know, his cronies or whoever's doing this stuff. And they'll put that much money in your bank account. And at that point, people are going to jump for joy to get that money. But that money is going to be programmed. It's going to be programmed so you can't spend it on assets. You definitely can't accrue wealth with it. You can't buy steaks with it. You can only spend it on the stuff that they tell you to spend it on. If you don't spend it, it expires. It's programmable money. But they're going to give it to everybody so everybody stops rioting and goes home and eats the food that they want you to eat. That comes with forced compliance. Not only will they give you this money, but they'll force you to comply with whatever they want you to do. So again, the way you protect against all of this stuff is to get your money into your own pocket. Get your money into your own pocket, however that may be. Stable coins, exchanges, brokerages. Some people are, like Indonesians are smart. They've just stuffed buildings full of cash. They never even took it to the bank in the first place. They just have buildings full of cash. They'd rather let the rats eat it than give it to banks. Okay? I don't think that's the best strategy, but you know that protects you against bank bail-ins. That's for sure. You know? That forced compliance is going to come with forced taxes through the ISO 20022 system, which goes live by latest November of 2025. That system is going to be a new system where you hit I agree on only being allowed to use the banking system if you comply and you have the right social credit score that comes from you complying with the way that they want things to be done. That one you can't avoid. That one, there's no protecting against it. Just become wealthy. The only protection you can have against is become so wealthy that you can afford to play the game the way that the wealthy play the game. That's all I'm going to say. The forced CBDC compliant, become wealthy enough so you don't need their money, that you have your own money. Generate value in the world. Add value to people's lives enough so that you're self-sufficient in this process and secure your businesses. At the same time, have multiple revenue streams. Have many, many, many revenue streams so that if some shut down, you're okay in that process. Okay. Other than that, everything's going to be fine. Other than that, the world's going to just be totally okay. Okay? Any questions? Yeah, can we get him a mic, please?
Sorry, I know you've brought this up several times, but it's still kind of fuzzy for me.
Yeah.
So you take your money out of the bank and you put it into Staples, track them, your own wallet, your hard wallet, whatever. How do you then access it? Because I can't buy food with stable coins,
Great point.
especially in this country.
Great point. Yeah.
In order for me to be able to put cash in my pocket, I have to sell my USDC into IDR
Yep.
in this building
Yeah.
or on Sunset and transfer it to my bank account.
You don't have to do it in buildings. You can just do it through
Well, I
apps.
mean,
Yeah.
total crypto.
That's what you do. You take your USDC, you sell it, take IDR, it instantly pops into your bank account and you spend it.
But if the banks have taken everybody else's money, they're not going to give me my money.
Yeah, by that time, okay, so that's what I'm saying, get a farm. Congratulations, you're good. Get a farm. Right? Get a farm. So like, but the thing is, the bank shutting down is going to be one of the final, not one of the final, but it's when shit really, really hits the fan. That's why it's not happening right now. World's running fine. The banks, once the bank shut down, money and crypto and all these things become completely, you won't even think about it. You'll be thinking about, how do I get through the streets out of the cities? How do I get as far from civilization as possible? Because people are rioting and murdering each other. Because there's no them to attack. Guess who they're going to attack? Each other. War. Right? When war happens, you don't worry, hey, how do I get my dollars out and buy food? You worry about how do I take my family and how the hell do I run as far as I can? We are that family. I'll send you guys a video. We're that family sitting there laughing their ass off, and Hitler is at their doorstep. Once he showed up, money, shmoney, gold, schmold. You think they cared about any of that stuff? They just hightailed it as fast as they could out of everywhere. You just better have a place to go. It's happening everywhere. Syria, Iran. It's literally Iran. I'm sorry, I had to. That one was too lined up. These are jokes, folks. You gotta laugh at life. But it's literally Algeria. How's Algeria doing? Oh, great. Yeah, still. Yeah, India, one of the greatest countries in the world, going to shit. So people are, you gotta have your exits. You gotta have farms. You gotta have food security. You gotta have water security. You gotta have community security. You gotta have protection. You gotta know the banjar. You gotta have good relationships. You gotta have networks around you, have really capable people. What do you think we've been doing the whole time? Why do you think you're building a farm? Why do you think I have farms? And why do you think I'm laying down the groundwork so when this shit happens, and most of the people that I know who are not, actually, most of the people that I know are already doing this, 100%. And the people who are smart enough to take care of themselves, we got farms for you. We got farms for you. We got so much food that we could feed hundreds, not hundreds of thousands, but thousands and thousands and thousands of people we could feed with the highest quality nutrition you've ever had in your entire life. And spring water that comes out. Plus we can generate economy from it. Plus we can build from it. We have all the resources, okay? We're not just sitting around talking shit. And I'm gonna explain to you all the stuff that we're doing even beyond that. Getting your money out of the bank and turning it into dollars and keeping it is just as good as getting your Deutsche Marks out of the bank and making stacks of it and keeping it. Remember that. Remember we said keeping currency is a very short-term game. That just only protects you against the bank bail-in process. The bank bail-in process comes with them printing enormous amounts of money and flooding it into the system. So even if you keep it at home, pretty soon you're gonna need to use it for firewood. So keeping dollars is not what I'm trying to tell you to do. I'm just saying today, start securing yourself, so at least keep your damn dollars so that you have access to them, so that they don't just take them all. Invest it into assets. You know what's one of the best assets on earth? A farm. A farm with food supply, with a good community around it, with good land productivity. Invest it into that community. Make relationships, hire people from that community, and get them to work on your farm. Now you have a good relationship. Now you've invested in the best kind of thing ever. You're feeding them, they're feeding you, you protect each other, now we're all happy. Great way to invest. You invested into assets. Land in Bali is just fantastic. Land in Bali is, even with all these fluctuations over the next 10 years, it's only going one way. Now, one more problem before I get to solutions. All of this is going to force people to go live in the metaverse. Because the only place they're going to be allowed to work, one of the only places, but most likely the only place, the goal is to have people only working in the metaverse. For them to stop using energy, for them to stop flying, for them to stop producing carbon, stop buying cars, stop buying houses, stop buying everything because they don't have money anymore, right? Force them to put technology on them, sit in a little corner, go into a metaverse and have everything. Go into a metaverse and be a king. Ferraris, villas, everything that you want inside of the metaverse. Money inside of the metaverse. If you go in the metaverse and you do this, which is the patent 2020606060 from Microsoft, yeah, 2020 666 is the patent for Microsoft for a blockchain that pays you specifically when you move your physical body exactly according to preset directives. That's how serious this is going to get. They're going to put you in the metaverse and they're going to say you will get paid when you behave and act and move and think in the way that we tell you to think. And if you do that, then the money shows up in your central bank digital currency wallet. And then from there, we tell you what to eat, we tell you what to spend on, we tell you how to live, we tell you everything. This is going to be for the people who don't have the money to do anything else. The people who want smoothie bowls, but want somebody else to take care of the farm. want smoothie bowls, but they want somebody else to add the value, somebody else to run the shit. They don't want to learn about anything. They don't want to do anything else. They're not adding value to the world. Guess what? Time to pay. Time to pay. You don't want to add value to the world? Time to pay if you live through this whole process. Because many people are going to die. Hundreds of millions, if not into the billions, are going to die within the next 4 years. Just a side note. You asked me to like not pull punches, right? This is me not pulling punches. That force living in the metaverse is going to be the culmination of all of these things. And of course, that comes with digital ID tied to social credits, complete traceability, complete takeover of the entire system. Now just a few people can run a digital space from a centralized control mechanism rather than having to run countries the way countries run. And this will be forced upon everybody. Okay, so now problem with some solutions sprinkled in the middle, but those are temporary solutions, right? How do you protect against that very specific problem? Here's how we're protecting Indonesia as a country against all these problems. On top of what Indonesia is already doing to protect themselves, because they're very smart as a country. Mad respect to Indonesia. No, before we go there, let me explain a few of these things. What we're doing, what I've been doing for the last 9 months while everybody was sitting there watching crypto charts, what I did is I closed that tab and I opened another tab. And on this tab, we figured out how to invest in real world assets in this digital space. Because what's happening is, if the entire world is going to transition to the digital space, and there's going to be digital representations of everything that's physical, that means all the value from the physical world is going to move to the digital space. Right now, the entire digital asset space is worthless garbage. Bitcoin is worthless garbage. It's as worthless garbage as gold is worthless garbage. Now, gold isn't worthless garbage, Sam. Gold is how we store value. Okay, well then, Bitcoin is as worthwhile as gold. You can't eat it, you can't use it, you can't do anything with it except for hold it and move it, right? That's exactly gold. So Bitcoin is as worthwhile as gold, let's say that. But in some situations, gold is worthless garbage. It'll get you killed, right? If you're the only person walking around with bricks of gold when the world ends, you're gonna die. You're definitely gonna die. If your idea of protecting your wealth and you're like, one person was like, I'll buy pellets of silver and gold so I can buy food when the world ends. I'm like, you want to be the little old lady with bags of gold in Indonesia buying nasi goreng. When the world ends, your world is definitely going to end. Okay, that's not a good wealth protection mechanism. Most of the assets that exist in this space are completely worthless, because when you ask them, okay, how do you find out if something is worthwhile? You go, what does it do? What does it do in the world? And it better do something that improves people's lives to a point where people are willing to pay for it, right? Because if you do something, if you have something that's so worthwhile for people, they'll pay you for it, that's something valuable. So what does it do? And when you ask that question, 90% of this space can answer that question, and it does not add value to people's lives. It's idiotic. Then the next question is, where is the money coming from? Right? Because if you do something that's valuable, then you should be able to explain to me where the money that's coming into this digital system is coming from, because people are paying for the value that you're adding into their life. When you ask that question, almost the entire crypto space can answer that question. First of all, when you go, what does it do? They won't even speak English. They'll speak crypto. They'll say it's a decentralized mechanism to fractionalize the sharding of the blah, 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 and the da, and the blockchain, and the cryptography, and the blah. And you're like, I don't even know what the fuck you just said. And you go, where does the money come from? And they'll say things like, APY. Money comes from APY. And you're like, that doesn't even make sense. APY is interest. The money comes from interest. Who's paying the interest? Where's the money coming from that you're using to pay the interest? Anyways, so what we did is we opened a new tab. And in that tab, we decided we're going to take real world value and we're going to move it onto the blockchain. Things that improve real people's lives, and we're going to digitally represent them and make them investment vehicles in the digital space. What that allowed us to do is take the growth of Asia. And growth of Asia is simply the idea that there's going to be a shit ton of investment that's going to come to Indonesia and Asia as a whole. That investment is going to be invested into real world things, real estate and food and farming and businesses and metaverse stuff as well. But that's a little bit down the road, right? We're taking all of these things, we're turning them into tokens, we're registering them as securities with the government, so it's actually official instead of just like bullshit. So then when somebody goes, where's the money coming from? We say, wait, what does it do? It's real estate. You need me to explain to you what real estate does? It houses people, it runs businesses, it is real estate. Where's the money coming from? From the people who want to buy real estate or want to use real estate. Boom. Okay, I'll buy this token. This token allows me to own real estate and allows me to benefit from the revenue of real estate. Okay, that makes perfect sense, right? So we are tokenizing the entire world. We're starting with Indonesia first, then we're going to tokenize the entire world. Right now, I'm doing it in Indonesia. We have a project that's going to start in Malaysia, Singapore, and I know this thing is just going to balloon to now one of our guys is looking at Germany. We're going to tokenize the entire world. And the idea of tokenization is you take anything physical that's revenue generating, that's valuable to people, that people pay money to use, and you represent it on the blockchain, and you break it up into little pieces. The same way shares break up a company into little pieces. You take those little digital pieces, register it with the government, make it official so that it's legit. Then people can buy it. When people buy it, they either buy a piece of whichever thing you're actually breaking up into pieces, or they buy the ability to generate revenue from it, right? Those of you that have been here for a long time already know this whole system. The first one that you guys already know is real earth elements. We took copper, gold, iron, and nickel mines, which copper, gold, iron, and nickel are very useful. Gold is worthless. I'm just kidding. Copper, iron, gold, and nickel are necessary to build this green future. We took those mines, we broke them up into little pieces. We have mines already running in Chile. We're now buying an iron mountain in the Philippines. And then we have gold and nickel mines on the way in Indonesia. And then more and more and more. We broke it up into little pieces. Investors bought it. And the investors get the right to the revenue that comes out of the mines. What does it do? Allows you to buy mines. Where's the money coming from? Mines. That's how short the answer should be when you ask questions. And nobody goes, I actually had a couple of crypto heads like, where does the value come from? And I was like, mines. They're like, what's the utility? Mines. The utility is mines. Where does the money come from? Mines. They're like, I don't understand. Your token does not have utility. Thank you so much. Highly appreciated. That's mines. So when you're taking money out of the bank, like if I would have told this to the guy who was buying real estate in the Deutsche Mark times, and you tell him you can buy mines, he would have bought mines right away. Right? You buy some houses, you buy some mines. So we're doing this with real estate. We're doing it with mines. Now here's a few projects that I have not announced to everybody, but by November I'll announce it to everybody once we come out of stealth mode. But you guys always get early access. So 5 Harvest Hill. This one's really close to my heart. Is this touch? It's touch. Okay, great. 5 Harvest Hill. One of our friends, one of our projects that we're incubating, is taking land productivity and turning it into NFTs, right? With the mines, you can't own the mines because the people who are in the country themselves own the mines. With the farms, you can't own the farms because, you'll own nothing, you'll be hella happy. This is how you'll own nothing, you'll be happy. You don't need to own the mine, you just need the money that comes out of the mine.
First melon harvest 2 weeks ago, and then 6th of October is the first rice harvest.
So what this does is it takes a piece of land and it turns it into an NFT. And the NFT, like this land, gets turned into a piece of NFT. The farmer says, turn my land into an NFT. That NFT does not give you the land itself. It's the farmer's land. How dare you try to buy it from them? It should belong to them. It's generational land. What it does do is it gives the farmer the money that you spend on the NFT. So the farmer gets money today, which is very important to them to be able to run their business and maybe scale their business. The farmer then promises up to 70% of the productivity of the land to the investor and says, this next cycle, however much money I make, out of that 70% will go to you, and I'll keep 30%. Thank you for giving me the money up front. Okay. Then they actually turn it into a NFT in a metaverse and make it a playable game, so that, because right now we don't have enough farmers and kids don't want to be farmers because it's not cool. Kids are going to play these games and run digital farms that are actually revenue generating. So kids will make money from playing farming games, and the farming game is an actual farm. So that the kids will want to become farmers in this kind of way. The first melon harvest just happened. 28th of September, we just harvested melons, and the rice harvest is coming up. 6th of October, rice harvest is coming up.
Where is this?
Indonesia. And it's in Jakarta, Bali. No, sorry.
In Serang, it's in Banten, West Java.
So this is in Banten, but there's land in Bali, there's land in Java, and there's land in another island.
Yes, also there is Himanangis, it's Malaysia. They are basically have cow from Malaysia.
It's doing with cows. You don't buy the cow, you buy the productivity of the cow. Right? Now here's another genius piece to this. We have another project called FarmSend. What this project does is it'll take the productivity of that land and it'll ship it to the Middle East region, the Middle East, North America region, the MENA region. Right now, we're in conversation with Bahrain, Saudi, and Dubai, and we're going to take that productivity that the land produces, ship it over there, sell it for shit tons more money, because when there's high productivity in Indonesia, the prices drop. Over there, the prices don't drop. They need food constantly, so we feed kids on that side. They pay a premium for it and are very happy to get food security. We take up to 5 times the money and we put it in the farmer's pocket. So instead of 30%, the farmer can get 150%. And instead of 70%, the investor can get 350%. Nobody's saying no to any of that. And we're doing it on the blockchain. Keep going, keep going. This is how it normally looks. Farm, facility, cooperative, second cooperative. Everybody taking pieces along the way, shipping, warehouse, package, deliver, market, payment, buyer. Everybody takes pieces, and then the farmer gets shit. Here's how we do it. Farmer, quality check, blockchain, buyer. And then guess what happens with most of the money? A large percentage of the money goes back to the farmer. What does it do? Ship stuff to these countries. Where's the money coming from? These countries. Why? Food. What does the first one do? Takes farming and gives the farmer money. Where's the money coming from? Investors making money and farmers farming. Right? Then here's a really cool project. This one's different. It's called Sovereign Union. One of our projects has brought together 72 Polynesian islands, 72 Polynesian countries that did not have a voice, that were marginalized in the world. We brought them together. Scroll down, please. Keep going. We have given them identity, digital citizenship to give them sovereignty, complete financial systems with currencies, wallets, operations, land registry with automatic ownership, easy asset tokenization and asset registries, governance, click here, voting, healthcare, passports, everything necessary for these countries to run at a global scale, better than Sweden, on the blockchain, automatic, 72 of them coming together under the same system, and the power the 72 Polynesian islands have is at the level of the globe. So their voice will be heard, their economy will be sizable. This is happening live today. 370 million people, 72 countries, 36% of the world's countries in this one project. What does it do? It runs countries. It gives countries a voice. Where's the money coming from? Countries. Welcome to how we do shit. And then, just for funsies, we're in conversation with Bob Marley's family because they want us to tokenize all of Bob Marley's, and not even Bob Marley, the Marleys, all the assets owned by the Marleys. What does it do? It's Marley, bro. Where's the money coming from? Marley. That's value. That's real world value. So you know where we're putting our money? Into these things. And these are just the projects that we brought up. On top of this, what we're doing is we're taking all these projects, we are bringing them together onto under a single umbrella, which is the Sumati umbrella. And Sumati right now is an incubator where we're incubating all these projects. When you incubate projects, you take them from growth, from baby stage to, functioning. What we're doing then is we're taking a percentage of the equity from each one of these projects. A percentage of mining, a percentage of farming, a percentage of commodities, a percentage of running countries, a percentage of metaverse plays that we bring in, a percentage of everything that comes in, and we're putting it into the incubator, and the incubator is an investment vehicle. And you could invest in the incubator and you can get equity where we feed equity for the rest of the life of the incubator so your value goes up. And then all of these are gonna be dividend yielding tokens. So the dividends that come in from all these different value models will be fed into the incubator token, and that will pay you dividends from all these different things and everything else that we bring into this space. Because we got so many projects that I can't announce yet. At the same time, that incubator is connected with we're partnering it with the city of Denpasar, who's given us the keys to the city, and the Indonesian government, the Jakartan government, and we're getting talent and businesses from them. We're putting them through education pipelines to upscale their knowledge in the local talent pool. We're putting them into the incubator right next to the smartest people who are building all this shit. And then and within 2 years, Indonesia's talent becomes global class talent, world class talent in building all of these things, because this is the future of building stuff. And then we're building societies, physical locations that will be food sufficient, energy sufficient, will be hubs for all of these things to be incubated and run. And that's how we accelerate the change that we're making in the world. Okay? This is where we're putting our money. And my money in the bank is worthless. You know where I keep my money? Right here. I keep it right here and right here. I mean, a little bit of right here, but like most of it right here and right here, okay? Because I made that money. And this is how we're making wealth. Not in numbers, in impact, in change. This is how we're making, we've built these systems to make sure the people on the ground, you have to make those people rich for the powers that be to make money. Because we said all this money sitting in financial systems overseas, right? Guess where that money wants to go? Because money doesn't want to sit around. It wants to go into businesses. This is how we're building businesses to make sure if you put money in, the first thing it does is it feeds kids on the ground. Everybody's kids. Automated, digital, inviolable. Then that makes you a return. You don't feed kids, you don't make money. Simple as that. This is what we've been doing for the last 9 months. While everybody in crypto is watching fake numbers on a screen go up and down in projects that are worthless. This is where the value is moving, and this is how we not just survive, this is how we thrive in these next 3 to 5 years. I'm putting all my money, all my time, all my teams, all my 17, 18, 30 hours a day into this. 36 hours a day. I made up more hours. Right? This is what I mean by do something. Do something. But this is the solution. This is the solution. This is how we make Indonesia the dominant player in this space, bar none. And then we're going to Jakarta to educate and launch this plan at the trade expo where the president's going to be the opening speaker. He's going to leave, and then we're going to present this plan to 52 ambassadors from countries. Then we're going to World Economic Forum in January and telling them how we're doing this and getting them involved in the process. The ones that everybody hates so much, they're investors, they're people who understand these revenue models. Because trying to explain this to the average person, they just don't get it because they're stuck in the old world. And I'm done. I've given you all these opportunities. I'm going to open these opportunities one more time, get everybody in who wants to get in, and then it's going to VCs, the big players, and because we've custom built everything to make sure they have to feed kids to make this process happen. And then we're traveling 15 countries and presenting this to all the countries as a plan of how they can change their countries and actually implement this so that these systems go global. And within 5 years, all of these things are going to be live, fully functional, profitable, and they're going to be feeding kids in the background while the entire financial system collapses and old society collapses, and all of that money that they're going to steal transitions to these spaces. They're not just going to take the money and do nothing with it. They're going to take the money and take it out of the old system and put it into these new digital asset-backed systems, which inflate against the currencies inflating. You see, the world is going to fracture into a dual world. One is an asset world, and one's a currency world. Right now, everybody lives in the currency world. Every single thing around you is valued in currency. If I devalue the currency, where are you going to go? If stocks are going down, real estate's going down, gold's going down, everything's going down because it's valued in currency, where are you going to go? Digital assets. Because digital assets, they go down 95, 96%, and then they go up 10,000%, 55,000%. That's what we call a Tuesday. And then they go down 95%. But 55,000% up and 95% down is still a hell of a return. That's only if you hold it. And the great thing is when they print all of this money, they print money, guess what the digital assets do? They outrun the money. They print 30% of the money supply, digital assets pump 2,000%. They stop, they crash. They print more money, another 1,000%. So it's staying ahead of all of this inflation, all this shit. But just staying ahead of this game selfishly by yourself in a corner by putting some worthless coins onto a wallet is not very karmically, it's not very karmic. Feed kids. Feed kids. This is how we're feeding kids. So all these things are going to be announced. Not all of them. Many of them are going to be announced publicly in November. First, we're announcing it at G20. Then it's going to be launched publicly to investors. As we always do it, our own investors will be the first ones who get let in and actually get to fill in the seed rounds at the bottom barrel prices. These are all projects that we're running. Like me, my friends, people that we trust, that we're intimately involved in. I'm a consultant on all these projects. I will be involved in the guts of all of these projects. I mean, alongside this, I'm tokenizing malls and hotels in Malaysia. That's a $105 million project. Malaysia and Singapore, that's probably going to go live. At the same time, we're tokenizing a new $60 million project, a real estate project that's being built right next to Nuanu, that city that Sergey is building, the Russian billionaire. Right next to that, there's a project that we're doing this. And then we're going to go do this with every single piece of real estate on it, every single country in the world. And that's just real estate. Mines, farm productivity, we're coming after all of it. We're going to take all of it. Within 8 years, everything's gone. And if you're somebody who sits in the old world, goodbye. The tech people are coming for you. So you better understand now, otherwise these apps, they don't care. They do not give a shit. Okay? So warning, red alert, it's here, it's happening live. We're doing it with countries, we're doing it with lands, we're doing it with mining, and we're the good guys. And mangoes. We're going to take over the mango game. But we're the good guys. Which one am I looking at? We're the good guys. Okay? There's a bunch of people who are not like us. They don't give a shit about feeding kids. They just care about taking all your money from your bank account. And there's many more of them. And their goal is to come after you. And I just explained to you a plethora of techniques they're going to use to take all of your money. Do something about it. Final warning. I'm going to shut up and I'm going to focus on all this stuff. And I'm done. Good news. We got 23 minutes. Good news. We want a fairer world. We want a fairer world. We want a cleaner world. We want a more equanimous world so that more people have opportunity and there's fairness across the board. This is how you get fairness. Digital systems. Because digital systems don't care about your creed. They don't care about who you are. They care about if you're capable. And if you're capable, you get to access all this stuff. We don't like how the things are done in this world, right? Well, there's only one way to change that. Destroy it. Blow it up. Because until somebody blows it up, guess what people are going to keep doing? They're going to keep doing the same thing. They're going to keep dumping plastic into the rivers. They're going to keep consuming. They're going to keep taking and raping the earth. This is how it gets done. The great news is, this is the beginning of the next stage of society. And by 2030, the age of enlightenment is coming. The age of every single person having the power of God in, not even at the tips of their fingers, literally in their head, is coming. And we have the opportunity to build everything the way that we want, to make sure that the people that we care about, the good people, are taken care of, even though they might not have the ability to build all this stuff. Questions? I thought there wouldn't be questions. So I have a question. What's your plan? What's your plan? I've been screaming for the rooftops for the last 2 years. Taught every single piece of every single thing that I know to help you understand the finer details of all of these processes, giving you all the proof. What's your plan? What's your plan for today? I bet you it's mostly, I'm just kidding. I was going to say smoothie bowls. But I mean, I love you all. We're not the people who just sit there for smoothie bowls. We're the active people. That's why we've been brought together in the first place. That's why we've been hand selected. And then we love smoothie bowls, of course. Nobody doesn't like smoothie bowls, but having a smoothie bowl, of a conscious smoothie bowl. You know, we talk about conscious. We are conscious. We're actually like here. We're thinking about these things and we're doing something about it. And that's why we have 1,000 of us. We don't need 100,000 people to listen to this. That's why these videos still can't be found on YouTube. They're hidden. And only the 1,000 people who are listening get access to it. Because I know these are the 1,000 people who give a shit. We're doing something about it. Huh?
There is a question. How do you tokenize the well-being or consciousness space?
How do you tokenize the well-being and consciousness space? Great question. We're doing it. One of us is doing it. He's my coach. My coach is bringing together, they're building a platform where they're going to allow access to the well-being and conscious, the healers. They're building a platform for healers where people will be able to access those, the healers, bringing them together. We're going to tokenize it and then raise capital to make it fully functional. Anybody who invests in it will get a percentage of the money that gets made from the healing sessions. Because well-being and healing are going to be the most valuable skill sets in this future world. Because what healers do is priceless. It's fundamentally priceless. It literally cannot be quantified in money. So we're going to quantify it in money. It never should be, yeah. It should be quantified in impact. So even more than in money, right? We're going to first quantify it in money. Then we're going to build societies. We're going to build societies that will put healers at the center. And we're going to make it free for them to live there, free for them to eat, free for them to fly, free for them to do everything. Plus, we're going to pay them money. Because when you take all of these projects, all of these things, and you take the revenue from all of these extremely high value systems, and you put it at the center of society, now society makes money from value that you add to the world. When that happens, you no longer need to extract money from the society. You no longer need to get the healers to pay. What? You tell me the healer heals you, does priceless work, and then has to go pay for rent so somebody else can take that money? Why don't we just make it so that the mining's paying for it, and the farming's paying for it, and the commodities are paying for it, and the metaverse is paying for it, and a bunch of businesses are paying for it that are adding actual value, but they're not priceless value. It's really high quality value. Then use that money to pay for the healer's house. And as a matter of fact, build a palace. Palaces across the world. Put healers at the center. Put fitness trainers at the center. Put health experts at the center. Put mentors at the center. Put entrepreneurs at the center. Put grandparents at the center. Okay? Let them, and then pay for all of them. Let all this stuff pay for their shit. Have your own food forest, then make your own food. Food is done. Have your own water supply, water is done. Palace, food, water, shelter, the best people are brought together in one place, incubate them, and then take the best projects, take it to the people with money, the ones everybody hates so much, and go, look at this project, look at how much money it makes. do you want to invest? Take their money, invest it in the thing, turn it over, take the value, put it right back into the society, pay for more, build it across the world. And then, you know what happens? You will own nothing. And you'll be happy as fuck. You will be very happy. Because do you need to own it? No. You just need the key, right? You just need the key. I'll give you the key. Add value. That's it. Add some value. Do something for this society to add value to society. Do not be a taker, be a giver. We'll give you a key. All across Bali. Whoop, 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 whoop. Indonesia, Southeast Asia, world. Fly anywhere. We'll get you the jets. We'll get you the yachts. We'll get you everything. Now what do you do? Now what do you do? You don't need money. You don't need food. You don't need shelter. You don't need real estate. You don't need travel. Shoes and stuff, yeah, we'll still pay you enough money so you can actually go buy shoes. But now what do you create? What do you spend your time and energy on when money has been removed as a concept through making money, by giving you money, by removing the need for money? Now, you're the generation that finally fixes all this bullshit that has happened in this world. Welcome to how we really change the world. And we don't make money disappear like Ubudians want to make disappear by like just completely going to like love exchange system. Yeah. We remove money by making money. And then because money is love. That part's right. Money is love. So first we run the engine with money. And then eventually once the idea of money just kind of goes to the background, like why do we even need money? We have everything. Then people transact in love. Then it's like, well, and plus it's automated, it's in the background. ISO 20022, automated smart contracts. Money doesn't even, it's not here anymore. Then you just start showing each other love and the money flows automatically depending on how much love you show. But if you're a taker, if you're lazy, if you just want to consume, if you don't want to help, if you don't want to dedicate your time, but you still want smoothie bowls, there's a whole nother world being built for you, my love. There's a whole nother world being built for you. And it's going to land on your doorstep by 2025. 2026 is the resolution of this world war. If you have not protected yourself within the next year, expect to pay the cost as different countries collapse and as this stuff comes to our doorstep. Martial law is coming to Europe first. Europe, I mean, it's already there. China, locked down. Martial law happened this last year. Nobody even noticed. Banks are collapsing. Army's going to be in the streets. It's going to start this year. They're not going to fully go full beans. By next year, by 2020, it's going to start in 2023, 2024, it gets super hot to the point where countries do not let their citizens out of the countries themselves. 2025, full on world war, meltdown, leave the cities, run to the farms, hang out as far as you can, let the world burn. 2026, you come back to the ashes and we rebuild from the ashes. And we use the ashes as fertilizer, turn it into carbon credits. All right, we'll end early today. Any other questions? There we go. Thank you, guys. Nobody wants to clap at the World War III one.